If you think boats with 2 sails are hard to manage, try a ship with 20. This is a Fullrigger, the hardest ship to sail in history. And because of this, it is widely used as a training ship for seafarers, and in this episode I'll show you how to tack it. You tack a ship by turning towards the wind, the opposite of wearing, where you turn the ship away from the wind. So let's learn how to tack a Fullrigger. It is said that even a haystack can sail from Europe to the Caribbean, meaning that to sail downwind is not especially difficult and doesn't require special skills from a sailor. It is largely due to the northeasterly trade winds on the route to the Caribbean, giving a consistent breeze from Africa to South America, and the westerlies in the North Atlantic, resulting of a high pressure around the Azores and an Icelandic low pressure. They have made it possible to sail to America for many centuries, also before sailors got good at tacking. It is, however, just wording, as the North Sea, the English Channel and the Bay of Biscay are not necessarily easy downwind sailing. Sailors have seen many shipwrecks sailing into the Bay of Biscay without being able to tack their way out again. In order for sailors to be able to sail that route without the use of an engine, they need to be able to maneuver the ship, tacking their way to gain ground against the wind, sail safely around other vessels and avoid going aground. Most importantly of all, they need to be able to make long-term strategic decisions about their route with considerations to weather and other conditions, but not so much about that now. There are 2 ways to turn a ship around. You can tack and you can wear. You tack by sailing through the wind. Let's see how that looks. The most ideal tack is done without losing any height to the wind, meaning that you don't get further away from your goal by tacking. However, on an old Fullrigger like this one, it is likely that the ship sails astern the moment it is in irons, meaning directly into the wind. When sailing astern, you can take advantage of the ship's backing by moving the ship's rudder to the opposite side in order to help the stern through the water. And when that happens, the track looks like this. Other than tacking, you can also wear a ship, where you turn away from the wind. That's the language used here, tacking and wearing. We'll look closer at wearing in the next episode. Let's start by getting an overview. A tack is executed by a list of commands that are given either by the captain or the officer in charge of the maneuver. It is a pretty complex operation, so we'll take it from the top and look closer at it afterwards. The first command is ready about, so everyone on deck knows that they should now be ready to tack. Next is spanker amidships, where the spanker is hauled in to increase the pressure on the aft part of the ship. Shortly after this command, will the helmsman get an order from the officer to begin turn towards windward, hand over hand on the helm. The command helms alee isn't always used, as it could confuse a novice helmsman. When the command ease out the headsail sheets is given, the headsails are slacked in order to take the wind pressure away from the foreship and will help the ship come even further into the wind. At the same time, we have increased the pressure aft, and the resulting effect is that the ship is turning into the wind. On the command clew up the main course tacks and sheets are eased, while the bunts and the clews are hauled 2/3 of the way up. We do this in order to ensure clear visibility to the foreship and to simplify the bracing maneuver while still being able to brace the yards all the way around. Why that is, we'll talk about a little later. Aft let go, or otherwise known as mainsail haul. Here we cast off the braces on the coming windward side on the main and the mizzen mast. Running coil must be able to run freely, and it is very important that nothing gets in the way. The wind pressure allows the yards to pretty much brace themselves around, so that all there is left to do is quickly take home the slack on the leeward side. At the same time, the sailors on the forecastle can tack the head sails over to the other side, as we are now directly in the eye of the wind. The result of the maneuver so far is that we now have the wind in at the same angle as the main and the mizzenmast, meaning that the wind pressure aft is minimal while it is increased at the bow. This ensures that the ship falls off, or in other words, turns away from the wind. Since we are quickly approaching our desired course, it is time to be ready in the fore braces. Around this time can the spanker be eased out to the new lee side. On the command, brace around 4, the foremast is braced around so that it has the same trim as the 2 other masts. The wind is now coming from the aft on all 3 masts, and the wind is beginning to pull the ship forward. Initially, the ship will drift a bit to the side, as you can see in the water by the bow. As the ship's speed builds up, the rudder steering capability will come back as the water is moving past the rudder and the ship can be steered onto the desired course. The last thing we're missing is to set the mainsail so that we can increase speed on the new course. Ready in the mainsail is the command for this, and then set the main course is where the sail is set. As soon as the ship is on course, sailing full and by, the tack is complete. Let's try this one more time, where we go a little bit closer. There's a lot more wind this time around, so everything will move a bit faster. Ready about. People are in their positions. Hold the spanker amidships to increase the pressure aft. The helmsman turns the rudder to windward, slowly, hand over hand. By doing this, the ship begins its turn. We do this carefully to avoid losing speed. On the command, ease out the headsail sheets. The sheets on the foredeck as well as the forecourse sheet are eased out in order to reduce pressure forward and move more easily into the wind. On the command, clew up the mainsail. The main course is hauled 2/3 of the way up so we don't have to think about it while bracing around. We'll do another tack right after this, where the mainsail is set so you can see how that looks. While we're waiting for the ship to sail through the eye of the wind, take the time to enjoy this old ship just sailing beautifully. Aft let go, or mainsail haul in America. The main and the mizzenmast are braced around in order to reduce pressure aft so the ship can fall off and away from the wind. And at the same time the head sails are tacked to the other side. And now we make ready to brace around the foremast. On the command, brace around 4, the foremast is braced around to have the same trim as the main and the mizzenmast. But something is wrong. You see a quartermaster running. It is the forecourse tack that is not being cast off. He's going for it. He's gonna get it, but a woke trainee comes first and gets it before him, and the tack continues. The last commands are ready in the mainsail and set the mainsail. Let's tack a couple more times even faster now. The command ready about has been given, and so has haul the spanker amidships, and you see the spanker is being hauled midships here. The helmsman turns to windward, hand over hand, slowly, in order to preserve the inertia of the ship. On the command ease out the head sail sheets, the sheets on the foredeck as well as the forecourse sheets are eased out in order to reduce pressure forward. On the command clew up the mainsail, the main course is hauled up 2/3 of the way, so it's out of the way while bracing the main and the mizzenmast. 2/3 meaning that the sail is hanging slack underneath the yard. For the clew lines and the bunt lines, the distance from deck is longer on the new windward side than the leeward side, and that's what we're going to take into consideration before bracing. An easy way to remember this is that the side where the yard is going to move forward, in this case the port side, is going to need more slack. Port tack, port slack. On the command aft let go, we brace the main and the mizzenmast around. And now we're getting ready to brace the foremast. And to no one's surprise, brace around 4. And at last, ready in the mainsail, and set the mainsail. At last, let's see if you can follow along on your own. And now, my friend, you know how to tack a Fullrigger. I've done my best in these videos to preserve the knowledge and the craft it is to sail these old type of sailing vessels. If you like this type of content, please like the video because it helps it get a lot more exposure, and subscribe to the channel if you want to come with me on this YouTube journey. There's so many good sailing stories out there to be told, so if you want to hear them, then stick around.